This is very good. I've been abroad for 5 years. I come home, you give me spam for my supper. Half the pubs are closed, queues all over the place, rationing the bread, wheatening the beer, and my wife on nights, eh?
Sandy, where are you going?
Back to ruddy Germany.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
But as soon as you opened the door, you got this terrific waft of grease paint.
Barrow, Blackburn, Bolton, Burnley, Bury. John made the pictures for them.
Who threw that through my window there? Where's Schofield? I'll bet you're real.
Hey, is it you that's put it around that arm farm, eh?
Yeah, I'll warn thee.
You're perfectly priceless.
Really? Who would buy?
I felt very proud. I felt I'd been part of something great coming from the Manchester area.
In an age of queues, the queue at the cinema was the longest because it led to a narcotic escape from the drabness of post-war austerity. But what people paid to see at the pictures was made exclusively by mainstream cinema, an industry which was based exclusively in London. Well, almost. John E. Blakeley was the one exception. No one would believe that he was a producer-director because he certainly failed to match up to the popular image of one, yet he was one of the most prolific the British cinema ever had. Blakeley made over 25 feature films. None lost any money, some brought staggering returns, and the London critics were appalled by all of them. A pioneer of silent cinema, Blakeley worked in Manchester all his life, and in 1947 he pioneered feature films there when he established Britain's only base for film production outside of London, here in this abandoned Methodist church on Dickinson Road, Rusham.
Really want?
Well, I want 6 penny worth of chips, half a pound of tripe, a cow heel, 5 trotters, 4 penny worth of scallops, and could you oblige me mother with a penny stamp?
All right, take it in my bedroom if you like.
Yes, good. Ooh, what about the smell?
You'll have to put up with that.
What's your name?
James B. Jervis.
What's the B for?
Bartholomew.
Bartholomew?
Now, Sarge, you let her out.
I want to get you interested in my bazooka.
What are you doing dressed like that?
I'm impersonating the Colonel.
Why?
He's under the Atlanta ink wall. I mean, he's subtle. Top secret.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Well, if the boys don't mind.
No. I've got a job to do. I've got to go and see the Sergeant Major. I'll see you later, huh?
Very good. Bye-bye.
Before you go in the basement, there's some special silk commandos.
Commandos?
Kimonos, silk kimonos.
Oh, I remember my grandmother had one of those kimonos. Only hers was made of mahogany.
Ooh. I go, my skin stretches. I'm a swell guy.
Stop gassing.
It's about time you did it all.
Hey! Is it you that's put it around that arm bar, me?
That's right, that's
There was far more fun behind the camera than in front, because it got to the point where they used to sometimes have to cut the camera because the operator was laughing so much he couldn't keep cam still. And they used to call out, they just had to say cut, and they'd burst into hysterics and then have a rest and start again. It really was that funny.
John was quite happy to do all his pictures in Dickinson Road, Manchester, and didn't want to know about going to London or being a big impresario. He was all right. He had his 2 sons with him and everything was fine.
And he knew just what the northern people wanted. And it's quite true that the cloth cap variety of humour didn't go down very well south of Watford.
If you judge a Mancunian film for its surface value, you're not going to get a hell of a lot out of it. I would be quite prepared to admit that you could get bored pretty damn quick if you were sitting through one after the other. But if you were looking at them to find out about the attitudes, the social attitudes, the expectations, and the actual aspirations, almost, of the people who made them, and the people who went to see them, and the people who laughed at them, and did get so much enjoyment out of them, then you're into a whole different area, because then you're actually into looking at real people. They cease to be celluloid characters and they start to become real people. You look a little bit behind the image, and behind it are real people. And they did live, they did exist, they were a part of society, and then you're faced with the problem of putting them in their context. And that's when it becomes really fascinating, because you say, how can this have happened? And why did it happen? And how did it happen? And why were they so crude? But why did people accept the crudity? And why was it funny up in the north, but a few hundred miles down the road, people they wouldn't put them on a projector, they wouldn't thread them on a projector. Why? And then, of course, that opens up a whole new area.
Oh, it's the flame comes from Greta, it's the pair. Working man. Who is given promises and knows that's all he'll get? The poor working man. Who has to live in houses you could cut through with a knife. Who is that builds your motor cars that last you all your life? But who was to the poor in the great World War? Why, the poor
Blakeley understood the tastes and expectations of the industrial north well, because he'd been running cinemas there since 1908. And became the first to distribute Charlie Chaplin features to the cinema audiences of the mill towns who were eager for any escape at all from the routine and the poverty. Nowhere was the picture-going boom greater than in the northwest of Britain. Blakeley's first sound film featured a then little-known comedian whose famous father had created and immortalised Wigan Pier, George Formby. Shot night and day in 2 weeks, Boots cost less than £3,000 to produce and turned Formby into something of a cinema discovery.
They'd never even heard of George Formby when they made Boots in just off Euston Road or Euston Square, something like that. And that made a fortune. Took a fortune, did Boots. A fortune.
What's that? It's only that crazy Boots, I suppose. Just wait a minute. Man's marvellous. Ought to be rather wasting our time. Go and tell Cassandra to get out. Get out? We won't want him anymore.
Within a year, costs on Boots were covered, and a second, more ambitious feature was complete. Off the Dole became a showcase for Formby's talents, and its success a measure of audience appeal. But Blakeley never worked with him again, because Formby was about to be brought up by the big boys.
But we see in this the Formby who was taken up and developed by Basil Dean at Ealing Studios and made into a national star. In fact, Formby was the top British male box office attraction from 1938 to 1943 inclusive, which is an astonishing thing to think of now. And we see the beginnings of this film persona being developed in the Mancunian films. The verbal routines, the knockabout, and most of all, the saucy comic songs. If you don't want the goods, don't maul them. I'll stick to my mother. They're all there. And Basil Dean was a very shrewd businessman, and he found out that Off the Dole had cost £8,000 to make, and it brought in 30,000, and he thought here was a star in the making, and he made him. But we see the original clearly laid out in those Mancunian films.
While Formby went on to save Basil Dean and Ealing Studios from bankruptcy, Blakeley, undeterred by his loss, continued to travel down to London, hiring small studios like Riverside to make a series of low-budget comedies with variety stars who were popular in the north. Each production, though, was planned and scheduled in Manchester. To the London studio crews and managers, the self-taught producer-director with a thick Lancashire accent was a curious figure. His notions of cinema had begun and ended with Charlie Chaplin, yet he got a string of successes behind him. Indecisive and invariably struggling for words, he always somehow managed to get the best from his performers. But one thing was certain, Blakeley always ran out of time. A simple equation was worked out during one journey home from London. If the facilities to make his films in Manchester didn't exist, he would create them.
He did not want to be told, your allocated time in the studios is up and you must get out. So having booked in Riverside and Walton so many weeks and always running over time, it was his ambition to have his own studio and that he could shoot as long as he wanted, which he was able to do. And that is, so you run into 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, who cares? He didn't worry, as long as he got what he wanted.
He was quite proud of it, the fact that he had, as he would think, outsmarted the London studio crowd by building his own studio, coming up north, cutting down his costs, because his productions were done on a shoestring, so it helped him that he didn't have to pay out the London prices for renting studios.
It was an old church on Dickinson Road, and he converted the old church into a film studios. And I never, ever thought he could have done what he'd done. He transformed it. It was like a dream, actually. It was very, very smart, with a gorgeous entrance with a commissionaire and 2 wonderful stages, soundproof from floor to ceiling. It was a thing I never believed I would have ever have seen in Manchester.
And I should imagine always an ambition of his to have a studio of his own in the north, and then he could afford to cock a snook at the south. And of course, when 1947 he built the studio on Dickinson Road, this must have been a feeling of great pride. This is an achievement. And I think all the crew and the staff working in the studios shared this feeling of achievement. They were all very proud. It was all very new, apart from the experienced technical crew, which he recruited from London, of course. But the electricians, joiners, carpenters, they were all local people. They all took a pride in working in this new innovation, something new in Manchester.
On May the 12th, 1947, after a grand speech by George Formby, the Manchester Film Studios turned over on their first slate in a 14-week shoot costing a mere £45,000. The northern variety stars in it and the 2 themes of football and romance endeared the film to audiences. as did sequences which bore no relation at all to the main narrative.
Well, my little man, how are you this evening? I'm really well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you, too. Yes. Oh, well, it's going to be done. Just a bit of messing about. Now, what's all this mess about? Run away. Can't you see I'm busy? Oh, by the way, I want you to go next door and clean Joe's windows. Right.
You'll attend to me now.
I'll attend to you when I've finished my bird.
Do you know who I am?
Now, let me think. I haven't the faintest idea. And what is more, I'm not the slightest bit interested.
You will be. I'm the new supervisor for Henry Chambers' shop. Oh? My name's Clarence Bell.
Clarence Bell. Well. I know your sister Isabel. She's number 5. Ding, ding, you know.
Who are you, anyhow?
Who am I?
Yes.
I'm the manager of this outfit.
The manager?
Yes.
And to think Mr. Chambers engaged you.
Yes, why am I sacked?
You're right. There's going to be a change.
What, the weather?
No, in the staff. Oh. I was here half an hour ago and the shop wasn't open.
You'll pardon me, it was.
It wasn't.
You'll pardon me, it was.
It wasn't.
It was.
It wasn't.
It was.
It wasn't.
I'll trust you for it. I'll ask my friends. What?
This isn't the son of bar, it's a madhouse.
Well, it is a bit of a mess, I'll admit.
We'll get it cleared away in the place side up, that's all. And don't forget, I want the shop open every morning at 9 o'clock sharp.
9 o'clock sharp?
On the dot.
I'll sell you an alarm clock.
I'm clearing out of here.
Well, goodbye, Mr. Bell. Mr. Doorbell.
Now, don't start again. My name's Bell.
What? Goodbye.
Bye.
Ring off. Would you like a bird to take out for the night?
It was a cottage industry. It was made for the very same people who would go to the cinema and laugh at that kind of crudity, that kind of vaudeville humour. The very same people who would actually go to vaudeville and go to cinema and laugh at it, they were making them, and they were working on them, and they were cutting them, they were lighting them, you know, and they were set dressing them. I mean, half the furniture came from members of the actual staff of Dickinson Road. So, you know, it really was a cottage industry.
See, everybody wanted to help. If we were short of something, you'd go to the neighbours and the shops, borrow their clothes and borrow ornaments and things like that. They were all thrilled to lend things if you were short. The prop department was a bit short, you see. They all loved joining in. So it was all it became a family thing, really.
The family side as regards the film studios. Tom Blakeley, his eldest son, and John Blakeley, the youngest son. The studios was to create work for them. John being a cameraman and Tom being very interested in the production of films. And also his son-in-law, Bernard Kelly. He handled and managed all the props department. I worked with my sister in Manchester on the renting side, and I was also connected with the film side. There was my brother, John. He was one of the chippies on the production. There was Arthur MERTZ, who was the son of old Arthur MERTZ, who used to be his co-writer, along with his brother, John MERTZ, who was the boom operator. And of course, Wyn Donlan, who came as studio secretary. She met Arthur MERTZ there and eventually married him. So it's quite a family get-together, really.
There was Chateau. We were going to have a photograph taken. The decorator was stopped from doing his job. The van driver was hauled in. And if they weren't there, they'd go out and call them outside. Everybody counted. Everybody counted in that studio. They never said that's the painter and that's the tea lady. Everybody counted. You were just somebody in your own right all the time. That's what I liked about it.
John Blakeley would take suggestions if you could thought of anything that might improve a thing and you mentioned it, even if it was through a third party to get to him, and he would, if he thought so, he would put it in, you know.
John was a very dour man. He thought he was the greatest film director in the world. He used to wear a black suit with black shoes and a black Homburg hat, take his coat off and put a leather jacket on with a zip on the front, and that made him a film director.
Nearly 2 hours long, the second feature went into production as soon as the first had been printed for release. Based in Blackpool, it exploited the post-war boom in holidays. And of course, for millions of people in the north, Blackpool was an exotic place. It meant an annual Wakes Week of freedom and fling. Blackpool was the mecca of working class, entertainment and pleasure.
Hey, I'm not stopping here.
What's the matter with you?
What, with squatters?
Don't be silly, squatters.
By the way, what are the charts for this stuff?
I think it's about 17 and 6 for bed and breakfast.
17 and 6, bed and breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, I won't need a bed.
Why not?
I won't be able to sleep because of the price. I wonder where the nearest pub is.
I knew that. You come back here and why don't you get this off and get yourself respectable?
I'm all right.
What do you mean you're all right? I've never seen anything like it. You know what you ought to do?
What?
You You've got to settle down here before you go out looking for pubs.
My trouble is going to be settling up. Never mind settling down.
Where do you think you're going?
I was only after a bit of...
Yes, I know. I'll attend to that. I say, miss, will you bring the cakes over here, please?
Oh, I see, what a mucky mess.
When you get a script, as from John E's, you would have blank pages with BUS on top. And the very first script I ever saw, didn't know what it meant. So I thought, well, I've got to find out from somebody and not show my ignorance. And I found the MERTZ. So I said, what does this BUS mean? He said, oh, that's business. He said, that means the artists, they go on and do their business as such, you see. So then I found out that this is what it was all about. And Johnny would get, it could be Dan Young, Frank Groves, Betty Jamal, see, get them all together. He said, now, have you seen the script? And it was just a vague idea. So they'd have to go away and work out what they were going to do. And then he'd give them about 20 minutes or something, you see. And then he would say, right, are you ready then? And they say, yes, fine. He said, go on, be funny for 5 minutes. And he just used to stand there and wait until he realised he'd got the laughs he wanted, and then he'd cut.
So we walked on the floor, and I said, where's the script, John? He said, you don't want a script. He said, I said, well, he said, go on, be funny. I said, what do you mean, be funny? He said, well, smash a few of those test tubes. So we finished up smashing the setup, you know, pulling things over. No script at all.
Come on. There's something wrong here. If I don't see it, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Come on. There's something all right. That'll do for now. Come on. Open back there. Open the door. Open the door! It's open! What's the matter with you? Did it only that time? I let go of his tape. Oh, he's lost it here. Hello? Who? Hey, you. I want some tripe. Some tripe? Aye. You'll hear that in the radio shop next door, but what? Oh, no, I didn't mean that kind of tripe. I mean the tripe you eat. Oh, the tripe? Certainly, my friend. Certainly, there. Is that fresh? It should be. It was only caught this morning. Caught? Yes, in the mangle. Well, I'll take £1.50. £1.50? Oh, I'll have to sell it by the pound. Only by the yard. Yes, beautiful bit of stuff. Make a lovely set of bagpipes, too. The old king's here. The old judge's week, you know. I now declare the court open. Do you mind putting your elbow on there? What do you want? I'll take 2 inches. There's plenty of water in the bath. I know that. Selfish. Alec, where's he gone? Oh, look at that. Yes. Did you see the match on Saturday? Oh, yes. What do you think about the new Einstein left? Oh, very poor. Very poor. Charlie Fairkettle, they call him, don't they? That's right, yes. £12,000 I paid for him. £12,000? £12,000. No. They've got a kid at St. Thomas's School down the road, and I'm a 50 for it. Do you know anything about football? Oh, it's gone.
He owed all the best people. He had George Formby, Norman Evans, Dan Young, Nat Jackley, Jimmy James, Joseph Locke. He had all the good people. And he picked the brains, you see. He used to watch them on the stage, saw the biggest effect that registered on the stage, and put it into the cinema screen. And so he'd always got the cream of Joseph Locke and the cream of Jimmy James and the cream of Julian Warris.
Blakeley simply pointed his camera at what was going on and said, do it. And there were long single takes of acts, which is what their great value is in. Very few close-ups, very little stopping of the camera. It was just done. This is why a film, for instance, like The Penny Pool, which consists of a whole string of different acts put together, as most Mancunian films did, very little plot in any of these things. They're nearly all a string of acts, a review essentially, and there's normally a romantic subplot put in to try and hold it together, performed by two execrably well-spoken juveniles whose accents you could cut with a knife and who are totally unconvincing.
I don't think we have any rooms vacant, sir, if that's what you mean. Oh, dear.
Oh, that's all right. Mrs. Jenkins is a very good friend of mine. She'll fix them up somehow. Thank you very much.
Very well, sir. I'll tell her. Good afternoon.
Bye. Well, that's that. Now then, how about a cup of tea?
And they used performers who didn't have to do second, third and fourth takes. They were used to timing, they were used to playing to an audience. They did their stuff and got off. And there it is, permanently for us to see. And much of it, I think, holds up extraordinarily well still, in its technique, in its humour, in its polish, and in its humanity.
Oh, what do you want? I've come to join up. You what? Come to join up. Blimey, we've lost. Lost that? Well, that's why I'm asking the way to go to. But you want to join the army? Ah. You must be balmy. Balmy? Yes. Why? Why? You want to join the army? Couldn't you could have got in the coal mines, couldn't you? Me in a coal mine? Why not? Well, why not? Well, my mother said I'm not going to a coal mine. I'm not concerned about what your mother said. Well, I am. I've always been in open air. Well, the sounds of others been in the open air. I've been in the open air. There's as good a men in the coal mine as you at a time. Well, let them stop there. I'm not going. Well, you're not going? No. Why not? Because I'm not. Well, then. Well, then. Well, let them get their own coal. You want? Yes. Let them get their own coal? Well, of all the selfish geezers I've ever come across in my life. What? You'd be willing to warm yourself with the fire in the winter, wouldn't you? But you don't want to go down and I'm not going down. No, I'm not asking you to go down. Well, don't. I'm only trying to agree with him. Selfish what you want? I agree with her. With him. There, what are you talking about? Who are you to chip in? It's got nothing to do with me, has it? Has it? No. Well then, why am I taking your party to debate? You're not taking my part at all. No, well then. Tell this letter and bring him up the proper way she'll be brought up. His mother doesn't want him to go down the mine. His mother? What do you know about his mother? Nothing yet. Nothing yet? No. What do you mean, not yet? My mother. Hey, the way he's talking to you. What are you about? My mother here. The way. All he wants to do is a call, man. The way. I'm not concerned about his father. Don't want him to go down the mine. What do you mean, father? Just leave him alone. I don't know it. My mother is our father. He's not telling when I tell it now.
Well, my father was a talking comic, as you probably know, Jimmy James. And so, after a couple of days, he said to me in the digs here in Manchester, look, write a few lines for me and Norman to do in the morning in that scene. So I wrote some lines in the digs, and next morning we took them in, and Norman liked it, and so produced it to Mr. Blakeley. And he looked at it and he said, aye, very funny. That's London comedy. So I said, what the hell were you talking about, London comedy? Jim just written it. I said, what he means, Dad, is it's dialogue. You actually use sentences, you say. That's London. You're not falling down.
And we had a little tiny man, Bert Tracy, a little weeny man. I think he was born in the North but lived in America. And he was with Laurel and Hardy for many years, and he wrote for them. And he used to be shut in a little office, and Johnny used to say, Bert, go and write something. And Bert used to come out with another sequence. And he was a clever little man, he was. But a lot of his stuff went in that way. And he was basing, you see, again, the comedy on the Laurel and Hardy, which was the slapstick. It's all slapstick all the time, you see.
Hey, that's your plate. What? That's your plate. Don't talk to me like that. I told you I like them. They're my plates. Put those plates down. Don't argue the point. Put them down. Certainly. Sit down. Sit. Oh, you don't like the place, do you? I don't like the place. I don't like your fish. Oh, you don't? And I don't like your... That's what I think about your pies, and that's what I think about your tripe. Oh, and I don't like you, and what's more, I don't get enough to eat, do you? You don't get enough to eat? No, I don't. You don't? No, that suits me. Well, there's some peas to take home with it. Well, there, I'll be right. Don't do that to me. Oh, it's like anything like that. Oh, if you want to play, that's all right. There we are, my boy. There we are.
It was the fun of it. People would actually go in and they would laugh and they would take it as they found it, because they weren't expecting the kind of Ealing gloss. They weren't expecting the kind of polished hue and cry, whiskey galore, all those films that were coming out of Ealing and that were intended for your middle-class audience. They were intending, they were expecting to see good old northern working-class humour.
Just a minute. Well,
I'm not surprised. I'm not a bit surprised. I told her she would go to those illuminations. I'm not a bit surprised. Do you know I never did like that coach driver? I know. He tried it on me. He did that. Yes. Didn't he? Oh, yes, I know. You see, he started messing about with his gears. Well, hello, what's that? That's my pudding. Oh, I forgot all about it. It's my rice pudding. I've left it on. It'll be burnt to a cinder. Our Joe, play a little L. Right, Joe, I'll tell you all about it later. Right, Joe, ta-da!